Okay, here we're talking about Medicare Part D. Like many things in Medicare, it's got multiple names. Part D plans, also known as PDP plans, prescription drug plans, or some people call them RX plans. Today, what we're talking about is the standalone plans. So just the Part D plan itself that either goes well with somebody that has Medicare A and B or someone that has Medicare A and B and say a Medigap plan. They're looking at a Part D plan to help with cover the cost of their prescriptions. In these types of plans, the features that they have, most plans are going to have a premium, of course. Now that premium can range in between as little as $0 per month to even over $100 a month. And it depends on how robust the formulary is or the drug list, how they cover the drugs, the copays listed inside of that. So that plays a factor into what the premium cost will be. And then there's also typically a deductible on these plans. Some can be zero. Um, we know that the maximum deductible for the year in 2026 is $615, meaning there isn't a Part D plan out there that has a deductible that's higher than $615. So that's good to know. Now it can always be less than $615. And again, these two things sort of play off each other. Typically, the higher the premium, the lower the deductible, and vice versa. We also have a maximum out of pocket that is mandated. For year 2026, it's $2,100. So that's the most that a person would pay in a given 12 months for all of their prescription costs, as long as it's on the formulary and it's covered. That is the most that they would pay. They're capped at that amount. And then these plans have copays and coinsurance, and I've got down here that it varies, and it varies widely. Now, we're going to get into the next section here, talking about the tier levels. We've got generic drugs, we have brand name drugs, we have specialty drugs. And typically the generic drugs, of course, are going to be the most cost effective, and some of the copays for those types of drugs could be as little as $0. There could be brand name drugs that could have a coinsurance attached to them. So an example, if a drug costs, say, $1,000 a month and the coinsurance was 20%, then it would be a $200 coinsurance payment each month for that $1,000 drug until the maximum out of pocket is met. So we're going to jump into that next, talking about the tier levels. Okay, now we're talking about the five common tier levels for prescriptions as part of a Part D plan. First off, here we've got the preferred generic, which is our tier 1 stuff, tier 2 generic, 3, 4, and 5, as we can see, brand, non-preferred, and specialty. Now, I've got some fictional examples over here of what the cost could be based on these tier levels in our make-believe prescription drug plan that we're looking at. In this case, for preferred generics, we've got a copay of $0, which is good. And for generic drugs, we have a copay of $10. But look here closely. Brand name, and so is tier 4 and 5, we've got percentages over here. So we actually have a coinsurance cost for these particular tier levels versus a fixed dollar copay. So like the example I used earlier, if I was taking a prescription, let's call it a brand name prescription, that was $1,000 a month, and let's call it a brand name drug tier 3, and I had this plan, I would then be paying 19% or $190 coinsurance per month towards that drug until I hit my maximum out of pocket for the year. Again, here for year 2026 is $2,100. So this is definitely something very important that you want to keep in mind when you sit down and look at drug plans, because these items here, this can all be different depending on the plan. Some plans offer a fixed dollar copay for a brand name drug. So when you're dealing with these co-insurances, and if you've got drugs that are tier 3 or 4 or 5, which I call the TV commercial drugs, these are the drugs where the patents haven't run out yet, so they typically can be very expensive. You really want to factor this into your decision when you're looking for plans. Take a look at what you're taking, take a look at where it lands as far as tier level, depending on the plan that you're looking at. Keep in mind that these plans set their own tier levels. So a drug on one plan could be a different tier level than on another. So that's something that you want to take a look at before you make any hard decisions on a Part D plan.